A while back I made this Morrowind video that was simplistic and not very long, and I just don't think it really holds up, so I decided I'm going to add more to that video to tweak it. Just tiny interjections to say more about what I already said. On top of my little narrative tweaks, I'll be expanding the length too, as Morrowind has so much more to say about it than what I did. So I'll be making more Morrowind videos on the guilds and the factions, and I'll be replaying the story and going more into depth in that. And I just have a lot planned in general. So if you're watching this is either part 1 of many videos on Morrowind to come, or I have finished this and now this is a big long Morrowind video that I can be more proud of. But without further ado, my original video. At last, here we are playing Morrowind. I've played it before, but I've never played through the main quest, so that's what I've decided to do. The character creation is one of the first things you do. Race-wise, you have a predetermined set of looks. Both race and gender will affect your stats. I went with a dark elf, as that's what I usually go with. After that, we speak to the yes, we've been expecting you guy.
Yes, we've been expecting you.
Here you choose your class and birth sign. It's important to choose things that will benefit from each other. If you try to start with a character who's good at everything, you might end up being good at nothing. After that, you get papers, and you're told to meet with a man, and off you go. In Morrowind, everything you see can be stolen and can be sold. Meaning, even if you aren't like a thief class, you are still going to be a thief throughout this whole game. Slavery is also a big part of Morrowind, as beast creatures such as Argonians and Khajiits can be found as slaves. And yes, I free them when I can. Even though slavery in Morrowind is technically illegal, the Imperials still allow some old customs such as slavery. Imperials are almost like the police of the land. They serve the Emperor and arrest people and attempt to keep the peace. Morrowind also has a fantastic soundtrack. Fast travel isn't a thing in Morrowind. Well, it is, but it's limited. Boats, Mages Guild members, and Stiltstriders allow you to fast travel, but only to very specific places. So in regards to fast travel, the fast travel on Morrowind, you can still get around a good chunk of places in the map relatively quickly. The Stiltstriders, which I was calling them Stiltstriders before, they're called Stiltstriders. The Stiltstriders allow you to travel to a variety of cities. The Mages Guild also is a must join, as you can use them to teleport you too. Even if you don't plan on doing anything mage related, you need to fucking join them for the sole purpose of using them for travel. It's also the quickest way to the far east side of the map. Boats can also be used to travel around all the coastlines, and there's spells that can teleport you to the nearest temple. So while there isn't a fast travel per se, the way that other games have it, there is still a fast travel system, and it's a unique one that incorporates itself into the world. But for the most part, you're going to be running on foot, looking at signs and following roads. Often, you will receive really shitty instructions on how to get somewhere. I personally enjoy waypoints and fast travel. I understand those who enjoy the exploration. I also enjoy exploration, but no waypoints and fast travel is not for me. Okay, so here, I was not quite conveying what I really wanted to say here. Basically, Morrowind fans who think Morrowind is the best game can be really pretentious and condescending. If someone's favorite game is Skyrim, they assume, oh, they're a newbie, they haven't played the others. Even though that might not be the case, because Skyrim is a good game and a perfectly valid one to be your favorite. If someone's favorite is Oblivion, they'll put them down for the various flaws of Oblivion, such as AI or combat, etc. And again, Oblivion is a very valid choice to be your favorite. But I don't see people attacking Morrowind in the same way that the other fans of the other games get treated, when Morrowind has tons of flaws and issues too. But the biggest beef I see with Morrowind compared to the other games has to do with fast travel. It's a topic so talked to death, it annoys me, but it's so talked to death I feel like I have to address it in the video. Morrowind's fast travel is beautiful because it allows you to experience the world and travel in a way that makes sense to the world. It also makes you prepare for your journey better because it's harder to get back, and to have more of an adventure traveling there. I get why people like it. But Oblivion and Skyrim's just allow you to jump where you want once you've found it, excluding large cities for some reason, as you can jump to them immediately. What this does is it lets you get on with your stories and your quests faster. It lets you skip things like backtracking. I save so much more time playing those games and can really keep the story going and my engagement in the story. And even with the fast travel this way, there's still plenty of reason to travel on foot to some places. Point being, every Elder Scrolls game is valid and wonderful, and each are valid for totally different reasons. You liking one better is fine, but I might hurt the next motherfucker who comments about how fast travel in Morrowind is better, or no one likes Oblivion or Skyrim because of the fast travel, blah 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 blah. Shut the fuck up, okay? I got limited time in my life, man. Sometimes I enjoy conveniences. Fortunately, though, Morrowind has one of the best worlds in gaming. There is so much to explore, so many different areas, so many different sceneries. It's fantasy, but like mixed with like dinosaur type stuff, mixed with alien like stuff. It's a unique fantasy world. Speaking of the world, it's smaller now, much smaller than Arena or Daggerfall. Still big in my book, but it's smaller than those. So with a smaller map, no fast travel, and a world that feels different to previous games, I wonder how like the old Elder Scrolls fans felt about this one. Morrowind did keep some things from Daggerfall, and bad things, like, I feel this is a bad mechanic, is dice roll attacks. There's nothing wrong with a dice roll deciding your attack in games. Lots of games do it, and it works. Those are usually, like, tactical RPG type stuff, okay? It does not work for me here, and that's due to the presentation. I can watch my weapon hit an enemy over and over again and simply phase just straight through them, dealing 0 damage. However, this issue isn't as big as a deal as you go on. The higher you level up, the less you'll feel this effect, as your hit chance will continuously get higher. So yeah, I know, all I've done is like bitch about this game so far. So we meet with our shirtless hunk of a man, and he gives us our orders for a good chunk of the main quest. Before having to leave, which I hated because I was really starting to rely on this man to give me all my orders, and then he was gone and I was like, oh no. Dwarfs are almost extinct in this world, but they still have interesting locations to explore that are both fantasy and robotic. Exploring is usually fine, but sometimes the cave, dungeon, tomb, etc. things can be downright stupid. And in contrast to what I just said, exploration is where Morrowind shines the best. There's so many things to find. It's way more rewarding than so many other games to just explore around. Money is also pretty easy to get in Morrowind, and the more you have, the more you can spend on training, which can level you up. And if you have enough money, you can make yourself good at everything in the game. Also, there's a mud crab who will trade with you for big, costly items, and that makes it really easy to get rich. Most quests are kind of boring, to be honest, but somehow that doesn't make the game boring, as I found so much to do even when the quests were a little ho-hum. One quest that annoyed me was I needed to talk to this Argonian, but some dudes were being racist, so I killed them, and then the Argonian got mad at me. I reloaded my save, tried to talk to them, they kept being racist, we tried to leave, they attacked us, I killed them, and the Argonian was okay with it this time. The towns often feel unique and really stand out to me as different more than in other Elder Scrolls games. Like I said, the world of Morrowind has a lot of love put into it. So what exactly is the Morrowind experience? What is it like to play? Also playing Morrowind is being told vague directions to somewhere. Everything having a weird-ass name, you remember, oh, it's a long name with a Z. And guess what? There's 2 long names with a Z in that same area and you went to the wrong one. That only happened to me like 10 fucking times, maybe more. Morrowind is also a buggy mess. At one point, the area I needed to travel to vanished. The doors still existed, but the area itself was gone. Fortunately, I found the people I needed to talk to. They were all fucking swimming in the water because the land had vanished from underneath of them. The fish in one spot got glitched too. This is real footage. Guards can also spawn blocking your way. Anyway, so we the player need to figure out whether we are the Netherrealm. Almost all the mainline story are about going to different people, telling them we might be the Netherrealm, and then them giving us a whole bunch of little quests. We solve all those little quests so they're like, okay, you're the Netherrealm. Now go on to the next person and do the same thing.
Yes, sir. Is there something I can do for you?
As the Netherrealm, we're supposed to fight Dagoth the game's main villain. Story-wise, there's so much to talk about in the story, and I barely fucking said anything here. I'm gonna definitely have my own whole section on that just later. I'll do it when I replay the story. I also believe it's pronounced Neverrealm, not Netherrealm, and I think I've been saying Netherrealm, and it's Neverrealm. But also here's a fight between Shredder and Splinter. I honestly loved my character's look. It was very Shredder-like, and when I added some glass too, that was just perfect. One thing this game has that I don't remember being in any other Elder Scrolls game is strippers. To beat the game, there is a quest that forces you to buy a slave. The slave's a dark elf, which I only mention that because usually there are Argonians or Khajiits, so it being a dark elf is interesting. That's like the only time that seemed to happen in the game. But yeah, you're forced to buy a slave, and you need to bring her to a man to get married. And this felt really against my character, as I had just been killing slave owners left and right and freeing slaves, and now I'm like, alright, I guess I'm buying one. At that point, I just stopped role-playing and kind of did whatever the game wanted, and was like, yeah, I'll come back and I'll kill you later after I finish the quest. So I got the slave, and I'm bringing her to a man, and then did she just call a beetle an Enwa? The Morrowind N-word? Wait a second, why am I judging her? I'm literally buying a person and selling them to someone, and she's the bad guy? And once I got her there, he complained about her hips. Yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill this fuck later. Talking to people feels more like looking things up in a book. It's just a huge number of subjects, a lot of reading, and very little voice acting. One awesome moment was when I got to fight this man in the arena because he wouldn't call me the Netherrealm. Well, I guess it wasn't that awesome, but, you know, add some imagination to it. It's kinda cool. And I'm not kidding you when I say I hate most the fucking quests. No waypoints, no fast travel. This one time to beat the game, I needed to find a dude, and the best info he could give me was, oh, well, this guy lives somewhere in Vivek. Excuse me? Somewhere here? Vivek is fucking huge. It's like the biggest fucking place in Morrowind. There's so many parts to it. It's gonna take an hour, maybe more, to fucking find him. Also, if you're a woman, you don't have to deal with this, but as a dude, there's this one chick that hates men and won't even hear you out to be the Nevarim. I tried to persuade her or bribe her, and she wouldn't listen, so I fucking killed her. Which the game just let me do and continue on. Like, I guess we just didn't need her vote now that she's dead. Which I like that. As you go on, levitation spells become important to reach places near the end of the game. So make sure to stock up on stuff, or do what I did and get magic floating pants. Also, one lady I needed to vote for me to be the Netherim, I found her with a naked Khajiit slave doing drugs and burning books. I don't even know what was going on here, but I got her vote. Even though you start off weak, towards the end of the game you are incredibly powerful. You can get seriously OP, and I love that. There's a god in this game named Vivek, and you can literally fight and kill him if you're strong enough. And honestly, he's hella strong, to the point when I fought Dagoth-Ur, the final boss, he was actually kinda easier than Vivek. Anyway, I know I bitched about the game a lot, but I do actually love it. For the Mages Guild, I created a Breton male who would start off with mostly magic-based major and minor skills. One exception being he would be skilled in spears in case of running out of magic. The other exception being light armor, acrobatics, and athletics. Acrobatics and athletics just are always major minor skills that I pick. Being so focused on magic did mean that the dice roll attack system Morrowind works on was not very friendly to me. Destruction magic was my main go-to until I ran out of magicka. This is really easy to do in the early game. Waiting seems like the only viable way to regen my magic, as finding potions to regen magic was scarce. I killed a lot of random innocents to start leveling up and get some gold. I suppose killing mud crabs works too, but there's no gold in that. And this caused the Dark Brotherhood to come, which is what I was hoping for, as they have really good light armor. Editing Michael here. It turns out it doesn't matter whether you kill innocents or not, the Dark Brotherhood just fucking comes after you no matter what when you start the game. But anyway, if you kill the Dark Brotherhood and get their shit, you can sell it for big bucks, and that can be really useful, especially early in the game. The thing I did not predict though, is how brutally strong they would get in later levels.
You may speak.
I also noticed that nobody helps you in Morrowind when you're under attack. Guards will help you if a monster comes in, but not if someone is attacking you. They also don't seem to fight what you summon unless you're already fighting them. I'm playing on the PC this time, and I noticed that the water on the Xbox actually looks better than the PC, which is weird because I'm used to seeing the PC being visually better. Another thing I forgot to mention is every time I start a character, no matter what, I go to the spot where this wizard dies from using a spell that makes him jump too high. And you can also use this spell and die in exactly the same way. So starting the Mages Guild is important, and you should do it in every playthrough because it provides you a lot of teleportation options to make travel easier. After that, they send you on a lot of collect items quests, which could have been a cool way to teach the player alchemy after you gather all those items that you could use for alchemy, but no. They did not do that, they just have you collect plants. Once you learn a spell or buy a spell, you can visit a spellmaker to create your own spells for a cost. Obviously, you gotta consider that price, if you'll be skilled enough to use it or cast it, etc. The way leveling up spells works is that no matter the cost of the spells, they will all have the same amount of experience points. This means if you don't have much money for trainers and you don't want to fight because you'll get your ass kicked, you can level up by making cheap spells that cost 1 magic point and just spamming that over and over and over again. The majority of mages quests feel kind of boring. Things like go get a book and bring it back. But I was noticing some things I didn't talk about. Like high elves being taller than you. How cool is that? For some reason I figured everyone in this game was the same height, but no, there are different heights. There are ones that are shorter and ones that are taller. Specifically, it seems race-based, but still, That is cool. Also, vendors will put on the outfit they just bought from you, if it's better than what they're wearing, and that's kind of funny because it led to all the vendors being dressed like the Dark Brotherhood. I'm playing using OpenMW, and I don't really have mods installed. I will have mods installed eventually, but I'm still trying to vanilla this as much as I can. However, using OpenMW, there are lots of bug fixes and visual fixes that just off the bat that it already has, and one of them is to fix the bug that makes the Morrowind vendors aware the stuff you give them. And so I clicked that, and that definitely felt a lot better. So later on you will see that the vendors will not be putting on the stuff I get them, but in the Xbox version I assume you're just gonna have to deal with that. I also noticed the Dreg. These dudes used to rule Tamriel a long time ago, and now they are basically reduced to animals at this point. They used to have underwater castles and such. So back to magic stuff. I'll be honest, destruction magic was fine, but geez, I don't recommend the build I picked. I was so weak and relied so much on magic early game, and you don't have a lot of magic points to use. Editing Michael here. I could have had more points to use if I threw more into intelligence earlier on, but I did not. I was focused on things like willpower and stuff, which are important, but that's on me. Now, I finally learned to use alchemy, and let me tell you, it is one of the quickest, most useful ways I've found to make money and level up. Now, you will need these 4 items, and then you just place the mortar over your character, and that opens the alchemy table. The better quality of the alchemy equipment you have, the better the potions will be, and the more you can sell them for. And you can sell these to get rich real quick. Also, if you ever get armor or weapons that you won't use but have a high value, there's a mud crab here that will buy those for up to $10,000, and definitely exploit that. Now, even though I thought I prepared myself well for the missions I was being sent on, I was wrong. The first thing I was unprepared for was that the Silt Strider rider of Balmora just vanished. I couldn't find him. All the others were still there, but he was gone, which was kind of an inconvenience. Not too bad, because I still had the Mages Guild of Balmora, but still. I pretended he either just got sick or quit, and they just hadn't found a replacement yet. An in-world reason for him to be gone. I also wasn't ready for this battle, where I got paralyzed and couldn't fight back while this gross man just licked me and damaged me to the point my shirt came off, making me look less like a ninja of the Dark Brotherhood and more like a gimp. I also wasn't prepared for an enemy to drain my health so low I was over-encumbered, basically holding anything. So yeah, I beat them, but I was also stuck there. My favorite quest at this time wasn't even related to the Mages Guild quest. It was one I found while looking for the quest the Mages Guild gave me, and I just happened to go into the wrong area, but one that's close by. And it was filled with fun riddles. My friend was with me at the time, and she helped me solve these riddles, and all you get is a temporary blessing, but still, it was a nice mix-up. Now, I had very little points in speech or personality, and people truly did not like me, saying things like, "You're about as popular as a bowl of tar, and whose fault is that? It's your fault, Outlander." Or, "I don't like you. I doubt if anyone in Sadrith Mora does. So go away and stop bothering me." Now, while the Mages Guild does allow magic, there is some magic they don't allow, specifically necromancy. One quest has you go to the home of a person accused of necromancy. You can either kill her or let her go, and say that you killed her. I chose to let her go as I didn't find evidence of necromancy. That doesn't mean that she didn't do it, just that I don't want to kill innocent people. And yes, I get that I did kill innocent people at the beginning of the level up, but you gotta understand I gotta level up. You know what? I wasn't really even role-playing here, I feel like I was just doing what the fuck ever. So yeah, I guess my decisions can be contradictory towards each other. Also, while searching her home, I found the greatest book ever written. The god Vivek is listening to 2 beasts argue about which of them is the ugliest creature alive. And Vivek says, no, you are both the ugliest creature alive. And then he fucking hits them so hard their skulls shatter. And then it ends with, and thus the Lord Vivek proved the ugliness is as much in one's manner as one's appearance. The hell kind of parable is that? I love it. Also remember how I was like, I don't want to kill an innocent person. Well, just fucking forget about the things I say, I guess. Because I was tasked to get an item, and this man said he'd give me that item if I escorted him somewhere. So I just let him out of the city, out of view of everyone, and killed him and took that item. Convenience, okay? I thought it was a cool thing I could do. So, yeah, I guess I'm just doing whatever here. One of the drawbacks of being a spear character is there's not many spears to choose from in the game. The game is for sure more tailored towards swords, axes, and blunt weapons. Also, I couldn't use my wizard staff because I didn't level up any blunt weapons, so I would have been awful in it. Some interesting things I saw here were a dinosaur man, a golden saint, and a white gar. I also learned that I like summoning. High-level destruction spells cost a lot to use, making me stick with some of the lower, more medium-level destruction spells, but summoning creatures to fight for me not only was cool, but did plenty of damage depending on the creature. It also helped me fight enemies who would do stuff like damage strength spells, because that wouldn't affect me because they were fighting the enemy. Now the Archmage is an idiot, and he gives everyone stupid tasks that can't be done. He tasks you with solving the mystery of the dwarfs. This should be done as soon as he gives you the quest, but I put it off for a long time, and I guess you shouldn't do that. The thing is, solving what made the dwarfs vanish is a mystery that's ancient and unsolvable. So basically what you gotta do is get 3 books that you probably got while doing mage's quests, assuming you didn't sell them by accident, not knowing they were important. And you can take him to the last living dwarf, and he will translate some of this stuff for you. Do you solve this? No, but you can take the info back to the Archmage and end your quest. Now with most playthroughs, you can fight the Archmage and kill him and take his place. Everyone wants this anyway because he's an idiot. However, for some reason, I waited too long to do his quest and could no longer challenge him, which meant, weirdly enough, there were 2 Archmages. He even said so himself. Sure, everyone now says they ignore him and only listens to me, but he's still there calling himself the Archmage. And it was just a weird anticlimactic ending. I ended up dressing like him and taking his place, basically. But we're both the Archmage now. So for the Thieves Guild, I chose a Khajiit, as they have many racial bonuses good for thieves. I also majored in mostly the skills a thief would have, like sneak and security, and other important ones like acrobatics and athletics and short blade. I also added Steed as my birth sign, which I always recommend. I mean, there's other really good birth signs, and I recommend those too, but Steed is really good if you want to be a lot faster from the get-go. One thing about beast races in Morrowind is they can't wear shoes because of how their feet were designed. They also can't wear some helmets, and they also jump differently. Unlocking works by wielding a lockpick and fucking stabbing the box with it, and probes are used to disarm traps. Pickpocketing, I think, just doesn't fucking work. Not once could I ever successfully pickpocket anyone without being caught. Half the time you are stealing, you have to do it right in front of people, which means you gotta spam talk to them so they look away, and half the time that works and you can steal, and the other half they can see out the back of their heads. Or they just know you're there to steal, because you are being suspicious as fuck. But it does make some missions feel impossible. Sneak doesn't seem to really do much either, and the sensor becomes unreliable. Also, never once did Sneak level up naturally for me. I always had to pay trainers to level it. The probes and lockpicks work great though. Also, the worth of the item you get caught stealing is how much the bounty is, which is rather dumb considering I can commit far worse crimes than thievery and come out with a smaller bounty. Multiple quests I did had multiple ways to complete them, and that is always a bonus for me. My character was really fucking weak though, and he got his ass handed to him a lot. On top of that, I thought the game broke on me, cause some items, including my gold, wouldn't show up. And all the forums I looked it up on seemed to have all sorts of reasons. why this could be, and I tried all of them to no avail. But I have finally solved the issue, and are you ready for the answer? It's that I accidentally typed the letter I into my item search bar. I have no idea how I did that, as I don't think I was using the I key for anything. But that's what happened. And I thought my game was broken. And not just that, but no matter how hard I tried to steal this Redoran helmet, they always fucking caught me. I decided I really didn't like my thief class. Had I known, I could easily fix my menu and would have kept at it. But as I didn't know the issue, I would quit this and make a new character to do the Thieves Guild. This time, it was an Argonian who specialized in luck, personality, and magic. Now you may think, wait, what about the thieving stuff you were going to be doing? Well, there's magic spells for unlocking locks. On top of that, alchemy granted me so much money and level ups, I could actually fight and afford trainers. And which I gained chameleon and invisibility, which make doing stealth a lot easier. Invisibility turns you fucking invisible, but you lose it the second you touch an item or fight someone. But chameleon, while not being fully invisible, allows you to touch things, and if high enough you might as well be invisible. With these new abilities, stealing the Redoran helmet I was stuck on previously was actually super easy. Of course, there were still ones I had to fully wait till everyone was gone, but for a lot of questing, me being a magic character made me being a thief a lot easier. The fucking Balmora Siltstrider guy kept slowly leaving though. What does he have against me? Every time he moves away at least a little further. At least he didn't fully vanish this time. I did quests like steal a book too spicy for the writers to bother writing things in it. And yet I stole another book that had things like, remember when you thought the royal battle mage of Blackmarsh was hiding behind every tree with a rape kit intending on making you, a middle-aged fat balding tailor, into his personal sex slave? How the hell spicy could the other books be if regular books had this shit in them? We also hire a wizard for one of the clubs we are in, because Thieves Guild doesn't work like the other guilds because they do illegal shit. So they kind of keep the guise of something else as a cover while also not being that secretive. Because there's a lot worse happening, so the Thieves Guild isn't high on the list of groups to crack down on. Also, at one point, 2 NPCs at the same time started running the same dialogue script, and that was funny to me.
Outlander, what do you want? Under sun and sky, Outlander, we greet you warmly.
Now we meet the head of the Thieves Guild, and his name is Gentleman Jim Stacy. He not only is running the Thieves Guild, but he also wants us to do other quests. You see, there once was a group called the Bal Mologmer, and they stole from the rich and gave to the poor. An entirely original idea that has never ever been used before. He wants to bring them back, and I gotta be honest, doing these quests was the most fun I had with the Thieves Guild. Stealing a land deed to give back to the rightful owner, stealing books to give to the Mages Guild so they could help students. These were just great. He also had us spend $500 on a ring that a shithead slave owner had to give to the slave to help buy their freedom, even though the ring was valued at $40. So why did we just not give the slave the $500? Gentleman Jim is kind, but he isn't always smart. I also like how Argonians swim. I didn't realize they had different swim animations until now. Didn't matter though, as I ended up walking on water mostly. From here, I had some other missions like steal a bitter cup and steal a Dwemer cup. Lots of stealing cups, actually. I will say other useful magic powers I learned was telekinesis, which allowed me to grab items in the other room. And in my opinion, I've had a far better time thieving with magic than Thieves Guilds. My favorite mission was to kill 2 evil slave owners. I only had to kill 2, but I ended up freeing the whole plantation and killing everyone who wasn't a slave. Not only did I feel like a fucking superhero or something, but this was also the most difficult fight I had yet, and the items these fucks had made me so rich. I never needed money in the game again. I also was reminded that summoning lower level creatures is often not worth it if your enemies are really powerful, and to really only summon powerful shit. Sadly, summoning wasn't one of the magic skills I had for this main magic guy. Our last mission involved fighting everyone in one fighter's guild. And it's a good thing I didn't do Fighters Guild stuff, because I'm sure that would interfere with that. I then became the boss, and the only special thing you get from that is a skeleton key. It's a lockpick that can unlock any door. It's really useful, but not that useful, as by this time I could already basically unlock any door. So House Telvanni is one of the 5 main political houses of Morrowind, also called the Great Houses. House Telvanni is a very magic-based house, with many members being very powerful wizards. They have a console room shaped like a Star Wars console room, and you can be on the console if you rank high enough. One of the main guys here is ancient, having lived many lifetimes, and he created his own daughters that are also his wives, and he sleeps with them, and he's a weird fucking dude, but he's also really important, so I'm not gonna kill him. By the way, is a thing in this game, you can kill everyone you see, but if you kill someone super important, it will say, like, the threads of time have been fucked up or something, please reload a save, but you don't have to. You just won't be able to continue the story. Telvanni use a lot of levitate spells, and they specifically have their buildings built in such a way that you need to use levitate spells to get to the uppermost chambers. I assume this is some sort of way to weed out non-magic based users from ever getting high within the ranks of the Telvanni. A lot of the first missions are just go here and get this item for me. But after that we get some good shit, and here's why it's good to me. They teach you spells or tell you to go get spells for specific missions. And this actually makes you feel like you are learning magic, unlike the Mages Guild. And that you are doing so for a purpose, unlike the Mages Guild. I kinda wish this thing was implemented more into more factions. Like, yes, there are skill requirements, and I really like this, but this is stuff you go out and do on your own or purchase training for. And then it's teaching you how to use it. So it is a quest teaching you how to use a magic power or where to get it. And I feel like those need to happen more often. The Telvanni tell us that there's this person who needs a disease cured. So then they teach us how to cure a disease with a spell. And then you go on a mission to do that and cure that person with that spell, so you know how it works. This is how you do a faction. Learning about the faction, learning about the members, and being taught by them too. They even made me get my favorite spells in the game from this point on, Mark and Recall. Mark allowing me to place a marker that I can teleport to later, Recall allowing me to jump back to the place I marked. It's super handy. And I never had a character from this point on that didn't have that spell. After that we go on all sorts of missions. We go to some dwarven ruins. And by the way, this is a statue of the dwarves. So presumably this is what they look like. Meaning they really weren't that short most likely. My guess is they'd be kind of Bosmer size, but that's just a guess. A Bosmer being a wood elf. We also do a lot of fighting against other houses, just murdering the shit out of them for political reasons. 2 cool things you get as House Telvanni is you get your own person to send on quests once you are high enough in rank. And I thought this was cool, but unfortunately he needs me to do shit for him before he will do shit for me. And I hate that, because that's not what happened for me. They just sent me on missions and I had to go fucking do it. But this guy, I tell him to go do something, he goes, no, you do this for me first. That's some bullshit. I didn't have that option. At this point, I had such high acrobatics that I turned Morrowind into my own platformer. Our final fight is against the Archmagister of Telvanni, and if we can kill him, we get to be the Archmagister. And that's another cool thing about Telvanni. They operate on a system where the strongest rule. If you get away with stealing, then you aren't a thief in their eyes. If you fight and you won, then you deserved to win, and that person deserved to die, and you aren't a murderer, you know? Now, I don't agree with House Telvanni, but I just find them an interesting faction. There's a lot to not agree with House Telvanni for, like how into slavery they are and such. But the other cool prize you get for being in House Telvanni is your own stronghold that has dwarven machines guarding it, and it has lots of places to trade and such. It's sort of like owning your very own tiny town. And yeah, you still do need levitate potions to see it all. Or levitate spells, or just, you'll need to levitate. The big negative of it, though, is it's kinda in the middle of nowhere, and that's really annoying for traveling purposes. So the Imperial cult is next, and frankly, good on them for having the balls to call themselves a cult outright. Most religions wouldn't do that. However, unlike most religions, their gods actually exist. In fact, you'd be an idiot to be an atheist here, as gods can regularly be talked to or seen. They believe in the 9 divines, also called the 8 divines, as there is bickering about whether one of them counts. I'll pass this off to my buddy Gage to give you a super brief description of the divines.
So this is Gage. Michael asked me to do a little snippet on the religions present in the game Elder Scrolls III Morrowind. The Imperial cult mainly believes in 9 gods, 8 of which they mostly believe helped create the mortal world, and 1 hero god who used to be a human and ascended to godhood. They are in no particular order of importance. Akatosh, the god of time, Kinnereth, the goddess of nature, Dibella, the goddess of beauty, Zenithar, the goddess of work and commerce, Julianos, the god of wisdom and logic, Mara, goddess of love, Stendar, god of mercy, Arkay, the god of death, arguably, by some sources, also previously immortal, but that's less agreed upon, and Talos, or Tiber Septim, the founder of the Third Empire that we are currently existing in Morrowind's time frame, who is believed to have become a god after his death. The Empire is trying to spread the Imperial cult throughout its territories, including Morrowind, who primarily believes in the Tribunal Temple.
This specific character is a high elf who will mainly be using summons for their fights unless they have to resort to fighting themselves. And what is a high elf doing in the Imperial cult? I'm not sure. I'm gonna go with that they were adopted at a young age by some Imperials who taught and bestowed all their Imperial beliefs on them. I do like that high elves in this game are so much fucking taller. I did not realize just how much taller. So a lot of missions depend on who sends you out. Some could be about gathering plants, while others could be about asking people for money for the church. And while that may sound boring, I absolutely love it. It lets me roleplaying being so devoted to the church. On top of that, most people decline to give you money or say that they already have, which is just a chef's kiss to this roleplay. I also found a Bosmer, and tell me this doesn't give you little Bosmer sub Dommy Mommy Altmer vibes to you. While summoning was not very effective in the beginning, toward the middle of this, I was summoning fucking armies. I also found this cute ABC book, but sadly it only went to C. Toward the end, you become kind of like an exorcist though, so that's kind of cool. You're either helping put spirits back to rest, or you're clearing areas of spirits. Another big thing we do in this cult is we attack those who worship the Daedra, which are a host of godlike beings, but it's not so black and white as good and evil. I'll have Gage give a brief Daedra explanation.
There are also 16 major Daedric lords for the Elder Scrolls universe at this time. 7 in particular are significant to Morrowind, but are not necessarily widely worshipped at this time. There's the good Daedra, who is a highly subjective term because at least a couple of them are arguably evil, but they've historically helped the dumber people of Morrowind, and so they were at one point worshipped heavily. They are Azura, the Prince of Twilight Prophecy, Boethia, the Prince of Plots, Mephala, the Prince of Lies, Sex, and Murder, and there are also the House of Troubles, which are 4 Daedric princes who are not necessarily worshipped, but respected as adversaries to the Dunmer. They are Molag Bal, the Prince of Domination, Mehrunes Dagon, the Prince of Destruction, Sheogorath, the Prince of Madness, and Malakath, the Prince of Curses, and also the primary deity for most orcs.
There was also this mission where we had to rescue someone from our church, and they had been captured and forced to fight in an arena with beasts. After freeing all those prisoners, I learned that while conjuration was helpful, I picked up a ring earlier that allowed me to absorb health from enemies, and there was no power I enjoyed more. It seems rare, but that became my big attack, and I ascended to the highest rank in the Imperial cult. I also happened to meet a high elf who looked very similar to me. Could be twins. After all that, we left the Imperial cult, spent all that time with the religion, but since we live in Morrowind, what is it that the Dark Elves believe? Well, during this time, they're into the Tribunal, and what is the Tribunal?
Tribunal Temple. These are 3 Dunmer hero gods who are living gods: Amalexia, Sothasil, and Vivek. It's a bit debated as to how they became gods. Most people don't seem to agree, but they have been the primary religion of Morrowind the province for the past few eras. Additionally, the Tribunal Temple has something of a devil figure referred to as Dagoth-Ur, who is currently sealed away in Red Mountain by the 3 Tribunal gods.
So the first thing we do after joining the Tribunal Temples, we have to go on the Pilgrim's Path, which involves us visiting different shrines and making different offerings. Each of these shrines tells us something about the Tribunal, mainly Vivek. We also have to do one where we drown, and we don't just drown, we gotta drown till we die. I fucking tried drowning just a little bit, that didn't work. I tried using a breathe underwater potion, that didn't work. You gotta drown until you die. And then you wake up, not dead though, with the magic door open. But it is here that a Daedra, whose whole life is some sort of like carnival worker kind of thing, he congratulates you for solving the puzzle. And why do I say he's a carnival worker? His whole life is he stands there waiting for someone to solve the puzzle so he can be like, congratulations, you did it! Woo! Speaking of Daedra with bad lives, Mehrunes Dagon once held a rock, and I guess Vivek taunted him so that he would throw the rock at him and not the civilians. So on the Pilgrim's Path, not only do you see the rock, like some sort of museum exhibit, but there's also a Daedra there, whose entire existence is for you to taunt him, so that he will fight you. And then you kill him and he'll respawn for the next traveler. What an awful existence. He also threatened to my corpse, which was a complete new one. I don't think I've ever been threatened like that before. We also deal with a fake Neverine, which I also haven't explained yet, so...
The Ashlanders, which are Dunmer who cling more strongly to pre-Tribunal Temple traditions, believe in the Nerevarine cult. They believe the Tribunal Temple are lying, basically, about how they became gods, that they murdered Nerevar, who was the king at the time that the dwarves disappeared and the Tribunal became gods, and the Chimer became Dunmer. Kind of a hell of a year that year. But they're basically spot on, but obviously the Tribunal Temple doesn't like what they have to say, so they heavily persecute that religion. They also believe that at some point in time, Azura's champion, Nerevar, who the Ashlanders believe the Tribunal murdered, will eventually be reincarnated and will historically, other people have tried to pass the criteria that the Ashlanders have recorded. Several different tribes maintain records of the prophecy about the Nerevarine, and so they have signs to look for if they're expecting someone to be the Nerevarine. Some people have fulfilled some but not all of the criteria, but every time someone claims to become the Nerevarine, the Tribunal Temple is quick to send their ordinators to hunt them down and put a stop to that.
So yeah, we gotta convince this guy he isn't the real one, which is funny because no matter what, you are the real one. Other quests during this time are kill a lot of vampires, cure a woman with a disease who's been an outcast, become a DoorDash delivery guy to a hermit who needs food in the middle of nowhere, and my favorite, solve a bunch of riddles. We already did this before, but now I know what quest it belongs to. We also fought a bunch of cliff racers, but that's normal. Honestly, I wish the cliff racers were just fixed in this game. That and those stupid fish. They are the cliff racers of the sea. I also thought I was badass for water walking, but then this fish showed me up by clearly using a levitating spell. So just like with the Imperial cult, we gotta go around killing people who worship the Daedra. Also, I found this Ordinator armor, but apparently they get mad if you wear it, cause they fucking work for their armor, and they follow all sorts of rules, and it's part of the religion, it's part of who they are. So me wearing it, just cause I thought it was cool, didn't sit right with them. But I just found it. My defense for culturally appropriating the Ordinators is that I'm kind of part of the Tribunal Temple too, and also I'm a high enough rank to command some of them, and it makes me seem taller so I can stare down at little Bosmer femboys. Also, we have to attack a lot of 6th house bases toward the end. Now, what is a 6th house? Remember how I said there was 5 political houses in Morrowind called the Great Houses? This is the 6th one. There's a lot more than that, but I'll explain when we get closer to doing the main story. The ending has many Tribunal soldiers fighting against a Sheogorath cult that includes an orc that can only say meow, but we get a permanent shield for all our work. And so far, the Temple Tribunal and House Telvanni have been my favorite factions, but the Imperial cult does give really good items, so that's not bad either. So this time I decided to use mods. Nothing too drastic, the big ones being Morrowind Comes Alive. And my god is it cool. It adds tons of new faces, outfits, and people. It fucking populates the areas more. It lets people sit down. It adds drunks and sex workers and followers and even town raiders that can raid the town. That's what town raiders do. And they can be specific to where you are or what quests are happening. It's very cool. From here I just used a lot of alchemy to make a ton of potions and sell for coin and training, and I eventually joined the Fighters Guild. Now, the Fighters Guild has you start with helping a woman who is obsessed with pillows. I guess some rats are eating her pillows and she wants them rats dead. So we kill them. And we keep going on every mission they throw at us. I say us because I'm bringing along a follower. She's cool, but I don't like how she phases into my body every time I leave a door. Fortunately, one step forward always fixes it. A lot of the Fighters Guild quests are killing. No surprise there. Kill an orc, kill someone at the club, etc. But while I figured we would mainly be fighting, it turns out we are also drink delivery boys. We are also DoorDash boys. That's what we are. It's the DoorDash Guild. We make sure the drinks get to the people safe, and sometimes we have to fight to make sure the drinks get to the people safe. I will sadly say a lot of the quests I was not into and found boring. We eventually met a man with an amazing name, Perseus Mercius. He's all like, I don't like the leadership, but I'll tell you more about that later. So he sends us to help out this lady to make sure she's safe. But when we get there, she leaves a note on the door and she's like, looks safe, and went inside. But what the hell does she mean looks safe? Not only does it look like this on the inside, but I got immediately attacked upon entering. And after battling what felt like a realm of hell, I finally find her, and she's just standing on a table afraid of some rats. I escort her to safety, and you may notice I did that alone. That's because it turns out you can't teleport with your followers. They can only go where you go if you don't use mark, recall, or any interventions, which honestly sucks, and it means I won't use followers unless we have local quests, which is a total bummer. One other thing Morrowind Comes Alive does is it allows guards to actually fight when shit comes into their town, and I really like that. It makes them closer to intelligent. A couple things I haven't talked about yet are leveling. To efficiently level, you want to have 5 points and 3 skills per level. Now you don't need to do this, so the game will work and play just fine if you don't. But if you're looking to make your character the absolute best they can be, that's how you do it. Even if it means spending coins on training skills you won't use, or using the min-max strategy, which is just putting the skills you want in your minor skills category, and putting skills you won't use in your major skills category, so that you can max out points before leveling up. Anyway, we continue our quests, and by the end we're honestly getting paid pretty fucking well. Perseus Mercius gives us new sets of armor, and tells us we have to kill the corrupt leaders of the Fighters Guild and their followers. The same ones that we got to kill in the Thieves Guild. So me and my follower go kill everyone, and it ends with me being the new Fighters Guild Guildmaster. After the Fighters Guild, I'd figured I'd join House Redoran next. Unlike Telvanni, there's a lot more rules, and this is an honor house. Also, even though there are 5 great houses, only 3 are playable. I assume the rest got cut for time. Redoran's first quests are a bit annoying in terms of finding things, but after that it's not so bad. Its quests are like, kill a bunch of angry mud crabs, and protect a guy, and taunt and intimidate a man until he gives a helmet back that belongs to our house. We also grab a mod companion named Eric, who I think has a cool design. Speaking of mods, I recommend having the amount of raiders to be 5 or less, because on this playthrough, it kept blasting me with so many people, and I had to turn it down. Redoran also gives you a stronghold. I think all the houses do. My biggest issue with Redoran, other than not enjoying quests as much, is that they don't pay very well either. There's another quest in which you need to find this woman in Vivec, and it took me forever to find because I didn't realize they could live on the outside of the structure. I was only looking on the inside, so I guess that's a learning experience, but still, so many quests have kind of gotten me lost for a while with this faction, and I haven't been enjoying myself. I did get to have a little dual sparring match with this guy though, so that was fun. Unfortunately, I was mid-swing when we stopped, so I hit him again when the dialogue box left, and suddenly we were really fighting now. So I had to reload a save. Back at the stronghold, your hetman asks you to get wives for people there, so you have to go around either buying slaves or convincing women to go there and meet men. We also find evidence of corruption at the Caldera mines, and we get that shit shut down, which is good for us. As for the ending, I'm not sure what I did wrong or how I locked myself out of quests, but I fucked up somehow. I also couldn't get this dude to give me his support, and we ended up fighting, and I'm not even really sure what's happening here. Even rewatching my footage, I don't know what is happening. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like there's footage missing. I don't know what's happening here, but that's where I ended it. And I don't even know if this was an ending, because I think I got locked out of an ending. But that was my experience with House Redoran, which kinda sucks, because I know this is some people's favorite house, but this one just was not doing it for me. Also, I think I've been saying it wrong. I think it's Redoran? So next I went to Solstheim to play the DLC of Bloodmoon. Solstheim is part of Skyrim and is just starting to gain Imperial presence. A whole lot of different animals are there now that we're on Skyrim. We got normal animals like bears and wolves, but also unique non-earthly animals such as the Horker, or the Spriggans, which you have to kill 3 times in order to fully kill. We start off playing kinda detective for the captain, finding out things like why is the rum always gone, and where are our weapons being smuggled to, and who amongst us are corrupt traitors. We also get a couple new followers, but the biggest detective mission we get is where the fuck did the captain go? Apparently the town got overrun with werewolves and they stole the captain. So now we gotta figure out where and why. So we go off to a Nord village of people called the Scar, and we live with them a little bit. We also kill these little guys called Rinklings, who as a kid I thought were those missing dwarfs nobody could find, but no, they're not that at all. Also, orc armor is really cool. I think it's my favorite in the entire game, but that's a hard decision because Morrowind's got some good looking armor. But orc boots? Orc boots. Why are they such long looking, clown looking boots? No other boots are this long, and it's a really big disappointment to such a marvelous set of armor. We find that the Skull don't like the Imperial Legion much either. Go figure. But that they do know about the werewolves. We have to become a Skull though, which means solving a few mysteries and going to see a bunch of stones. They, however, give me a stone map, which you have no idea how much I love. Literally so much. Since they don't have map markers in Morrowind, it means you have to listen to the directions of people. Now if they say, oh, the thing you're looking for is north, that's not so bad, because I'm like, oh, okay, this way. But when they say like, oh, it's northeast, that's when an issue arises, because then I gotta cover all of this. But having a map like this is as close to a map marker as I'm gonna get, and I absolutely love this. I wish they gave me this kind of thing more often. Unfortunately, my followers were becoming more of a hindrance than a help due to their inability to teleport, so I ended up keeping one with the skull, and the other broke and stopped moving altogether, so I took all his stuff and gave it to my other follower, leaving him naked. But hey, this isn't the first time there have been naked Nords just stuck and unmoving in this game. We have to do all sorts of quests once we reach the stones, whether it be fight these cool looking undead guys or follow a Horker, or killing these fucking things so we can rip out their eyes and bring light back to the cave. I honestly was enjoying all of these, and actually knowing where the fuck to go really helped me enjoy my experience. Also, my follower unglitched and returned to me naked, so I had the bonus quest of finding him some clothes. Back at the camp, we do more detective work, and some shitty dude wants this guy banished or killed so he can try to take his wife. But apparently being banished is worse than being killed in their culture because you are excommunicated from absolutely everyone and erased from all history. So yeah, we take care of the problem and banish the fucker who's causing the issues. We end up meeting an undead dude who used to be a skull but got banished. Apparently he accidentally summoned some Daedra and has been keeping them trapped for centuries. But they are gonna get out and kill the skull, and he tried to warn them, but once banished they stop pretending you even exist. So we help him, but he dies in the process, and when we return, the skull are being overrun by werewolves. And we fight them, but there's two issues. First being, I have been infected, and now I can turn into a werewolf. The second being that the main skull leader is also missing now, presumably taken by the werewolves. Now we are given a cure so that we don't have to be a werewolf, and I do plan to take it, but I end up making a save to see what happens if I choose to be a werewolf. Well, being a werewolf is kind of a neat novelty, but nothing more. While some skills are better, I was overall far stronger as a non-werewolf, and could actually do things like pick things up and talk to people. On top of that, Bloodmoon is a bit hard, so it wouldn't make sense for me to try to become a werewolf at a lower level, because I more than likely wouldn't survive till that part. So I reloaded that part to make sure I'd be cured. I then have to go on a ritual with the skull, known as the Ristag, where we fight some werewolves. Some of us die, but ultimately I am a skull now. I then travel to a castle made of ice, slaughtering everything within. Oh shit, what happened and where am I? Turns out I have been taken for a big hunt, led by the Daedric Prince Hircine himself.
Hircine is a Daedric Prince, which basically just means that he did not participate in creating the mortal world, and he rules his own realm in Oblivion, called the Hunting Grounds, which is fitting because Hircine is the Daedric Prince of the Thrill of the Hunt. Along with most of the other Daedric princes, his worship is shunned by mainstream Imperial society because he's not necessarily benevolent, although he is somewhat more honorable than other Daedric princes. He does consistently give prey and opportunities to succeed against the hunters. Hircine is the creator of lycanthropy, so werewolves, werebears, wereboars, whatever that Hircine creates, solely for the purpose of being better hunters. Their souls, as well as devout followers of Hircine, end up in the hunting grounds when they die, where they just hunt and are hunted for eternity. During the events of the Elder Scrolls 3's Bloodmoon expansion, a big part of the plot is the Bloodmoon prophecy. The Bloodmoon prophecy is in regards to a great hunt that Hircine holds once every era that he spices up and changes a bit between every era. But this time specifically, he is kidnapping prominent figures from all over Solstheim, an Imperial officer, the leader of the Skull, who is a closet Hircine worshipper, a frost giant, and the Nerevarine. He genuinely considers it an honor for his prey to be chosen to be his prey. The reason I specify that Hircine is the prince of the thrill of the hunt, and not just the hunt, is that any ordinary hunter who's just hunting because he needs food might reasonably pray to Kinnereth, the goddess of nature. However, Hircine is a sportsman. A lot of the things he hunts aren't actually intended to be food. A few instances are his Daedric quests in the other games in this same series. At one point he has you hunt a wereboar in the Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. In Oblivion, he has you hunt a unicorn. And in Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, he has you hunt a rogue werewolf. He, at his core, is a sportsman, and he hunts because that's what he enjoys doing. And Hircine does appear to be less interested in traditional worship than most gods are. Instead, he prefers you to just do what he likes you to do, which is hunt.
He's putting us in his sick, twisted hunting game. It's us against so many fucking wolves. So many. And these fuckers rip your fucking armor durability away. If you didn't come with repair hammers, you are not in for a good time. Fortunately, I had some health potions and repair hammers. Unfortunately, I did not stock up on them, so I only had what I had. We end up finding the captain from our time with the Imperials, and he joins up with us to fight these wolves. He, however, does not make it and dies to the power and sheer number of werewolves. This is by far one of the hardest battles in Morrowind I've had, and I'm loving it. But at the same time, I'm in fear that I may not win, as I have not prepared enough for this battle. Next, we find the Skull Leader, and he has also been chosen to be part of this game. He, however, not only decides to fight us, as there can only be one winner, but it turns out this fucker could turn into a werewolf this whole time. What a sleazeball. We also have to fight a big-ass frost troll, as it was down to just the two of us. Eventually you fight Hircine himself, and he gives you a question with 3 options. What you choose determines what form he will take to fight you, as he's not going to be fighting you as him, because he would just flat out kill you. So we fight him, and I just happen to have the exact amount of health potions and repair hammers I would need. Any less, and I may not have been able to beat it. Any more, and I would have had extra. Defeating him stops the Bloodmoon prophecy and destroys the ice castle. Everything is back to the way it was without the werewolves hunting people. Since it's now over, I use my cheats to grab some nifty armor that is part of the Bloodmoon DLC, just not this main quest. Then I take all my followers, give a speech about how the Dren plantation needs to be destroyed, and then we run in and kill everyone as a send-off to their particular character. I honestly really enjoyed Bloodmoon. It's been one of my favorite things to do in Morrowind so far. I think I like it even above the Telvanni and the Tribunal Temple, but I would recommend starting at level 25-ish before starting it, and also having armor be one of your skills. So next I took on joining the Imperial Legion and being an Imperial, but before I could even get into that, I went and added a couple more mods. The first and most importantly I added was a McDonald's in Balmora. Well, actually it's a McDagoth's, but you can legit buy food here. And people, apparently. I also had a Silt Strider mod, where they could actually move, which was kinda neat, but totally defeats the purpose of fast travel. They move way different than how I had envisioned. I guess I assumed they float, like a netch. Still pretty neat though. I ended up removing this mod. So starting off, we need to get a woman's land deed. It turns out her husband was murdered, and it makes a lot of things way more complicated. The quests are pretty normal quests. I guess I didn't know what I expected, but I guess I figured as a member of the Imperial Legion I'd be put on watch duty for various cities and do mundane things like guard a store from thieves or solve disputes or, I don't know, more cop-like things that wouldn't make sense for other guilds. Still, it's not bad at all, just not what I expected. We also have to save an Imperial who was kidnapped by an ex-wise woman who, it sounds like they fuck people to death, but it could also mean they just steal the essence of a man, which what is the essence of a man? Is that a soul? A body? The vibe of a person? Come? I don't know. But he left a literal paper trail to follow him, and that's honestly pretty cool, so we end up saving him. There's also a lot of investigating cults within the Imperial Legion. We also confiscate some Dwemer merch. And one really cool thing is when we open a secret door in a wall to fight a Legion Abandoner, and then we have to give up all our cool shit, sadly. But fortunately, we get it back. In order for our final advancement, we have to duel with this guy who has our shit, so killing him not only ends our Imperial Legion playthrough, but also gives us tons of goodies, including Lord's Mail, which is the best armor rating in the game, higher than Daedric. We also got the Mask of Clavicus Vial earlier, and that gives you plus 20 permanent bonus to personality, which is really high as an Imperial, so all in all, the Imperial Legion is super worth it for the goodies alone. The sword he wields is also pretty fucking good. Next is the East Empire Company. While there is an East Empire Company on the mainland, the one with all the quests to do is on Solstheim. Our main goal is to help the Empire build up Raven Rock. We happen to have two bosses. One who actually wants Raven Rock to succeed, and one who wants it to fail because he doesn't want to be on Solstheim. Not only this dynamic, but just this whole thing ends up being one of my favorite factions to join. The first thing we got to do is deliver workers from a dock to Raven Rock. After that, we got trouble, because there's a Nord who doesn't want the Empire building the town here, so he's standing in front of our building, refusing to move. The good boss wants us to move him as peacefully as possible, not just kill him. The bad boss just wants us to kill him. And I think this is not only well written, but also helps teach players like me who don't know tons of the lore, how the Nords and the Empire feel about each other on Solstheim. And this bad boss continues to be an ass. At one point he demands we bring him reports at a certain time, then he booby-traps the front carpet of his office with a spell that drops our speed to nothing if we step on it, and just in case we manage to get around that, he fucking has hidden himself out in the middle of nowhere, so it's hard to find him in order to give reports. The effort this man goes through to make a project fail really makes you hate him, but also kinda makes me impressed. We also end up with a special pickaxe, which can allow us to mine materials to bring to Nords to make that ice armor I had mentioned earlier. And coolest of all, while the town is being built, we get to pick some of the things the town will have. And I picked for us to have a town trader, and we have one. And this dude is loaded with money, as much as the mud crab merchant, but more conveniently located. We end up finding a thief trying to hurt Raven Rock, and after catching him, the thief says that the bad boss made him do it. Shortly later, he was found dead after being locked up, because of course he was. The bad boss strikes again. Next thing you know, we're fighting off assassins who we assume that the bad boss sent. And then we get raided by Nords, but it turns out, after slaughtering them, these weren't Nords at all. These were men from the bad boss. And this was expertly planned, especially after having that one Nord try to ruin our town. To have men dressed as Nords to try to fool us and ruin the town was a smart play. Unfortunately for him, though, one of them had evidence against our bad boss. So we confront him, and he goes to fight us. And looking at him, you wouldn't think he's tough, but I guess you can't judge a book by its cover, because he was one of the hardest fights I had in this game. He is consistently healing too, like a lot, really fast, and his hits do quite a bit of damage. Dagoth who? This is the real final boss. I tried every fucking trick under the sun till I finally beat him. And yeah, I wasn't as powerful as some of my characters, but I was still like pretty good. I wasn't expecting him to be so fucking tough. I was rocking Lord's Mail and other magical items. I had a Daedric sword. He was kicking my ass. Eventually I beat him, but this motherfucker's tough. Anyway, the East Empire Company is one of my favorites in the game. I enjoy the writing, I enjoy the characters, and it ends with us being the main guy in charge of Raven Rock now. House Hlaalu is the pronunciation for this house that I found, but I've also found other pronunciations, so maybe it's not that. This is the last joinable house, as the others are sadly not in the game. Right off the bat, there's two reasons for me to really like this house. Reason one, my starting quest giver is in Balmora, the main town I start in every game. And two, as a very business-focused house, they pay very, very well for the quests given. Your first quest is about trolling House Redoran and giving them false orders disguised as one of their members. A lot of the quests here are about helping our businesses grow and making others not do as well. I also want to say the Manor District is really fucking cool, even if some of the areas are confusing on where to find someone. After we leave Balmora, we meet Cressius Curio, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I don't care because he's kind of a pig. He is the author of The Lusty Argonian Maid, which I'm sure you have read before. He is vital to advancing in the house, but to do so, you must strip naked for him. At another point, I think he forced me to give him a kiss, but maybe this was for something else, because I am not seeing my footage of that. I'm only seeing the footage of him asking me to strip for him. Either way, he's a disgusting guy. But I actually enjoy this being here. Why? Because these kinds of people exist. So to not have them is to be less grounded. On top of that, you can just not strip for him. You can not give in to his demands. Hell, you could just kill him and face the consequences. This isn't a main quest thing you need to do. This is the main quest for a side faction. That's totally optional. Anyway, so I end up stripping for him and just hating him in my heart. And one day I'll outrank him and then I'll get rid of him, is basically what I told myself. We do more business stuff like delivering to the Dwemer guy, who I think we saw in the Imperial Legion quest. And I like when we get to see different factions working with the same person and how it works differently. It's pretty cool. We also need to collect a farmer's rent, and one of us tries to give us his guar, and his guar ends up killing him and becoming our companion, which is really cool. Unfortunately, though, we can't give him orders or tell him to wait in Balmora or anything, and I care more about the squire than most of my companions, so I take him to Balmora, where the McDagoths is, and I bring him inside. Yes, is it irresponsible to leave your child at a McDagoths? Sure. But one could argue it's worse to take him on dangerous quests. Besides, he can have all the McDagoths he wants until I get back. We protect some businesses, we fight a Telvanni necromancer, and other stuff. We also get unwanted sexual advances. And it's not just because I'm a female wood elf. No matter what you look like or your gender, he is disgustingly horny for you. The stronghold you get for this house is also pretty good. It's almost like a smaller town. It's mini Balmora, and it has its own guard. Just one for mini Balmora. The Duke is also like, hey, my brother is the leader of the Commander Tong, and we need you to be in charge. So he asks me if I can talk to him and not kill him if possible. But the thing is, his brother's a Dren Plantation guy, and you already know how the Dren Plantation and I feel about each other. And I do try to bargain with him, and I think I was supposed to bribe him, but I'd rather just not bribe him, so I killed him. And I know the Duke asked me not to, but it doesn't matter, because I'm the Grand Master of the house. Next we got the Morag Tong. These guys are an assassin group, kind of like the Dark Brotherhood, and they get compared to them a lot. One difference, though, is that they perform government-sanctioned assassinations. Also, I think they're exclusive to the land of Morrowind, but I could be wrong on that. Not only do they have a super secret hideout that you have to find in order to join, but the other places they have look really cool as well, and have all these red lights, which can either make you feel dark and mysterious, or like you're in a brothel. Also, I didn't mention anything about my Wood Elf character by accident, but one thing to note is I used archery a lot, and it's actually a very handy skill once it's high enoughly leveled, so I recommend that. Now, the Morag Tong has two kinds of quests: miscellaneous Dark Brotherhood quests of finding out who they are, fucking them up, etc., and assassination quests. Most are assassination quests. They give you a target and you go kill the target. Rinse and repeat. You can learn more about the target if you want, or you can go and just straight up kill them. See, as a government-sanctioned group, we have these writs that allow us to show a guard we were sent to do this. All the consequences vanish, and so does our bounty if we show these writs, and that's pretty fucking cool. The downside is, you do not get a bonus if you have to use your writ, and this is also pretty fucking cool. I will admit, at a certain point, it somehow wasn't as much fun as I thought it would be. I feel like the variety of how you killed your targets spiced up Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood, but here it was kinda blurring together and just killing target after target without a lot of difference. The pay is fantastic though, and I do still enjoy the quests. I just had to do the Dark Brotherhood stuff every other one, so it gave me variety and I wouldn't get bored. Also, did you know Sheogorath followers danced naked in front of some Daedric ruins? You do now. Another very cool thing about this is we get sent to kill more Dren Plantation guys and legally assassinate them. And oh my, it looks like I'm gonna kill them all before I kill them all. Anyway, to become Grandmaster, we either need to kill the current Grandmaster or let him retire peacefully. And while I have no problem letting him retire peacefully, it just seems like fighting him to the death makes the most sense for this faction. So that's what I do, become Grandmaster. I'm gonna go into a bit more depth on the main quest of Morrowind. This is Caius Casadus. He is the leader of the Blades here, and you report to him for missions. He also never wears a shirt, he's a stoner, and there are multiple mods out there if you want to date him. He needs a lot of information on the Sixth House and what the Neverine is, and Dagoth etc. Stuff that will help explain the main story, but I already had Gage talk about that earlier, so I won't really go into that again. In order to get this information, we have to do stuff for other people, then report back to him. A Fighters Guild guy sends us to get a special puzzle box. To get there, we have to cross a bridge with an enemy who's a great skill checkpoint. If he's really hard for you, you aren't ready for the main quest, and you have to train yourself up. If you handle him fine, then you are ready, and I really like that. What I don't like though is that the puzzle box you gotta find is somewhere that's super easy not to even check. They give you a whole ass elaborate level to go through, but it's really not even in that area. It's this climb up a rock that I didn't even think to do, because why the fuck would I? Maybe had they trained you to do that? But on like a first level, this fucking sucks. And all the indicators are like pointing elsewhere. We then go to a tomb and find a skull. The reward for this is again more information regarding the main quest. Our next quests are again finding more information out by helping people. We help an Argonian escape from racists, we bribe a man with gifts, we steal a book from a secret library, and we help a Khajiit hide from a man. All of this gives us information needed for the main story. Next we get sent to an Ashlander camp. Ashlanders still follow the old ways, including not worshipping the Tribunal and worshipping 3 good Daedra instead. They also live in tents, and I imagine are a very smelly people. We ask if we are the Neverine, and they give us prophecies to test that out. First we need to go into a cave with tons of goodies in it and bring back a special bow to be initiated into the clan. Now the Sixth House have these guys called Ash Zombies, and they don't fucking have eyes anymore, and on top of that the followers of Dagoth are called Dreamers, which I also feel like fits into the eyes not open thing. Also, a disease is spreading from Red Mountain, and it has been quarantined off. This disease causes corpus, which really fucking fucks up your body in quite a nightmarish way. Seems like you get gross and your skin bulges up and pieces fall off. It's basically the results of getting an infection from fentanyl. A different Dagoth who works for Dagoth asks if we would be Dagoth friend or if we would be his enemy. It's not really an actual option though to join Dagoth, sadly, so I wish this dialogue just wasn't there. And after we kill this Dagoth, we are infected with corpus and need to quickly find a cure. But don't worry, this is part of the main story. You have to get infected in the main story. So off we go to see Divith Fear, who is old as dirt and one of the most powerful wizards to have ever lived. We met him earlier in the Telvanni house. He's married to his clones that are his daughters who are his wives. That guy. He says he has a potion that might work, but we need to go into his large basement where he keeps people with corpus disease, because he's trying to cure them. In the basement is the last living dwarf, as all of them vanished after the Heart of Lorkhan incident. This guy lives down here and he's a mess, also hoping to get back to the way he used to be and hoping Fear can do it. He gives us a pair of boots to take back to Divith. He then gives us the cure and it ends up working on us, though we still have corpus, I guess. None of the effects will ever happen, and on top of that we are now immune to all disease, which is also part of the Neverine prophecy. So honestly, it's all good news. The potion only works on us though, as he was unable to replicate it on others. Sadly, when we return to tell Caius the good news, he says he has to leave to the Imperial City and that we're in charge of the Blades now. which this doesn't mean anything because we'll never give orders, but it does mean, sadly, we won't see him again. And now a majority of our quests will be from Ashlander camps. Before that, though, we have to perform a rescue on a floating rock. This rock is being held by Vivek and has been turned into a prison, and we are looking to free a prisoner who can help us. This brings us to one of the hardest moments in the main story. If you aren't fully leveled up and don't have the right spells, this is going to take multiple tries. Eventually we do get her and we use an intervention spell to teleport away. We also go to a super secret door that only opens at sunrise and sunset, and it's here we get the rest of the prophecy that the Ashlanders did not know. From there, we do more stuff to fulfill the prophecy, such as getting trinkets and tokens like a 6th house cup. Gage then came over and showed me where a bunch of helpful items are, including the best helmet in the game, stat-wise, the Helm of Orin Bearclaw. Unfortunately, it's so ugly I eventually took it off for a helmet that didn't make me look like a dork. Next we have to find the moon and star through the eye of the needle, and the hints you get for this are atrocious. Fuck that. But once you do see it though, it's super obvious, and if you're a new player, it's right here. After grabbing the moon and star, a cutscene plays. It's one of the only cutscenes within the game, as there's like less than 10. Here, Azura tells you that you are the true Neverine, and that you have passed the tests. Also in here are the corpses and spirits of all who thought they were the Neverine, but failed one prophecy or another. Each of them have special gifts that can help you on your quests. One thing I really like about this is all of them thought they were the chosen one at one point, and you are currently being told you are that chosen one. But whether Azura actually knows or doesn't know, we don't know. She made the prophecies, but that doesn't mean she actually had the power to make sure it came true. The reason it took so long for a reincarnation just could be that it took that long to find someone who happened to meet the criteria. And just because we happen to meet it doesn't mean we are Nerevar. We don't really even have his memories or anything. We just happen to keep meeting criteria. But so did the spirits we just met, until they didn't. Next we gotta get the Ashlanders to agree we are the Neverine. This involves doing things like helping someone regain confidence and slaughtering everyone in a Daedric ruin so Ashlanders can hide there. And also buying a slave woman to be the wife of one of the Ashlanders, and I'm pretty sure I already voiced my complaints about that part, but eventually all camps call us the Neverine. Now the last thing we gotta do is have every great house name us Hortador, which is basically a united warrior leader for all houses that can be chosen in dire times. And with Dagoth causing ash storms and illnesses, these are dire times. There is so much that happens here. Quest after quest after quest, but the highlights for me is having to duel the Redoran leader because he's too stubborn to name me Hortador, bribing a woman who hates men. I gotta mention, I'm a man in this quest, I'm a male Redguard. We also have to rescue that one guy's son again, like we did in a previous faction, and deal with that one perv from the last house we did. And we have to kill a Dren plantation guy, which I always do no matter what, so that works out. At last we are ready. The Ashlanders fully name us Neverine, and we pass all the trials. Off we go to talk to Vivek, who wanted to speak to us before sending us to fight Dagoth and not helping. Vivek rambles for a while, and that gives us what we need to destroy the heart of Lorkhan, which we need to do to defeat Dagoth. Just being near Red Mountain really brings you the feeling that things are very wrong here, and enemies are everywhere. I mean, they were before too, but this time they aren't all cliff racers. Also, this door took me way too long to figure out how to open, but now that I've played a bunch of factions, I know to look for a lever and what it looks like. But if you start off doing just the main quest, you won't know, and you'll probably be baffled how to open this door. After reaching Dagoth, he lets us talk to him before we fight. He asks if we really are who we say we are, to which we answer that we really don't know. He asks us a few more questions and is honestly an interesting dude. Had they let you join him, I would have at least done so on one playthrough. Sadly though, I have to kill him, and he is a fine difficulty. But I fought far, far worse, and we destroy the heart of Lorkhan and kill Dagoth. Then Azura thanks us, and that is the main quest. I killed Divithfear and took his Daedric armor. Then I grabbed a couple other items before heading to Mournhold. So in the Tribunal DLC, we go to the mainland part of Morrowind. The area we get to explore is a bit smaller, but it's super unique and very interesting. We have guards for the king that have this really cool red armor with spiked nipples. And then we have guards for Almalexia, a goddess in the Tribunal, and if we are Nerevar, then she's also our ex-wife. The thing that led up to this was, you know how when you would sleep, the Dark Brotherhood would show up and you'd have to kill them? Well, now you're going after them directly, and when you finish, they will never bother you in your sleep again because you're gonna fucking slaughter all of them and their leader. All of this took place underground in Old Mournhold, which is big and has a lot of sewer systems. And our next quest also takes us down there yet again, as we're fighting a goblin army. And these goblins look so different than they do in Oblivion, and I actually really like how they look here better than I do in Oblivion. They also hit like a truck, so make sure to be a high level before showing up there. Our third quest once again sends us underground, and at this point it's just annoying. I get that they had limited space to work with in this DLC, but at this point I have spent too many hours underground without variation to break it up. This time we are talking to a guy to help cleanse the area. Only he can cleanse it, apparently, and he was scared out of his mind and doesn't want to do it, and I actually really like him. One of the only escort missions I didn't hate, and as long as you command him to stay put, he's really easy to keep alive. Also, there's liches here, and you fight them, and they're a really cool kind of enemy type. So our next mission fucking takes us underground again. These missions are a lot longer than normal missions too. These are like Oblivion length missions, not Morrowind length missions. The boss fight here was a lot trickier because he used darkness spells, so I couldn't fucking see anything. Luckily I was still able to blindly hit him to death, but that should have been my cue to get spells to counter that, and I did not. I then got to meet my wife Almalexia. Then I go outside and the city's being attacked by robot dinosaurs. Guess where they came from? That's right, underground. But I don't mind this time, because it's a different area underground. There's different scenery, and it's not a sewer, and instead it's some dwarven ruins. After that, Almalexia says there's a cult she's worried about, and wants us to look into it. Our first non-underground mission. This group, called the End of Times Followers, believes that the Tribunal is not as powerful as they used to be, that their time is coming to an end, which is true. They also believe bad things will happen when the Tribunal die, which is true. They want to help the world and do what they can during this time of suffering, and they also rightly predict that the gates of Oblivion are going to open up very soon, predicting the next game. That's kind of nuts. They are the Doug Forsett of this universe. That's a Good Place reference that I assume no one will get, but for anyone who does, I love ya. Point is, these guys are a legit group, and this pisses Almalexia off. They dare assume she's losing her power? Oh, she will show them she is not by sending me to go to a magical machine. One that can cause an ash storm for her since she no longer has the power to do things like that. That'll show 'em. Following this line of thinking, we can see that Almalexia is really losing her shit in her quest to retain power, but it ends up working. People are in awe of her power to make that ash storm. But still, you can tell those ends of times, guys, they are right. Almalexia sends us to find her old simp and why he ran off. We are apparently her new simp, because we're doing exactly what she just fucking says. And he says, "So, she has sent you for me. Now you are her favorite. Whichever one of us dies, she will be pleased." And then we fight, and he is the hardest fight in the entire game for me. Mainly because despite how high my stats are, or how great my armor is, he fucking darkens my vision and lowers my ability to successfully hit him with each attack, making me get more useless the longer the fight goes. On top of that, his armor reflects any magic I use on him back onto me. This was an intense fight, and I lost multiple times, but I had a plan. Basically, through potions, spells, and enchantments, I raised my luck really high so my hit chance was far more likely to succeed. I also used the Red Guard's ability of Adrenaline Rush, which greatly boosts stats. I had spells to counter the darkness, and I made sure my sword had no charge so he couldn't reflect magic back on me. And eventually I killed him, and you get all his stuff, so that's cool. But yeah, hardest fight in the game. We tell Alexia and she seems bummed out, but then she tells us she believes we really are the incarnate of her dead husband. So she sends us to remake the special sword that we used to wield. But before we do, a wood elf tries to swindle us out of money, but we don't fall for it. We then spar with the king's champion to get a piece of the sword, but then after going back outside, the wood elf is in full ebony armor and attacks us. He's supposedly one of the harder fights in the game, but I was so decked out from my last battle, he was kind of just a cakewalk. Next we have to deliver artifacts to the Museum of Artifacts in order to get the next piece of our sword. Unfortunately, we can only deliver very specific ones though, which is really dumb, so I had to look up a list to see which ones I could get rid of. Fortunately, the Helm of Ore and Bearclaw was one I could get rid of, because god is it ugly. With that, we visit a swordsmith to forge our sword, and then we take it to the ghost of a dwarf to light it on fire. And with that, we have my favorite sword in the game. True Flame not only looks cool, but does fire damage, and it also doubles as a torch, so you don't gotta wield one. We return to Alexia and she calls us her dearest servant. She is gonna make me blush talking like that. That's probably why I married her in the first place. Anyway, Alexia is like, hey, Sulthus Sil? The last member of the tribunal you haven't met? He was responsible for the robot dinos, and he's gone crazy. I'm sending you to fight him in his clockwork city. So we fucking go through his city, and it's cool and unique and has a lot of traps and puzzles and an absurd amount of robot dinosaurs, and even a giant robot fight with a robot that has a head resembling the Chimer, the people the Dunmer were before they were punished by Azura. At last we meet Sulthus Sil. And he's dead. He's super dead. Destroyed and hung up by wires and just this crazy, grotesque, part man, part machine dead corpse. Alexia appears and she's wearing a Daedric mask. She's also gone crazy in her lust for power and is trying to make her, and only her, the one god and end the tribunal, to have full control even over the king of Morrowind, and to claim that I, the reincarnation of her husband, fought and killed the crazy Sulthus Sil to protect her. So yeah, she's gonna fucking try to kill us. She's just so silly. This is what caused our relationship to end last time. Guess I gotta kill her first. And she for sure is a hard boss fight. I'd say third hardest I had. She can obliterate your health in like 2 hits, so I died a couple times. But then I just fucking kept going through the door. I'd jump in, jump out so I can heal. So yeah, it made the fight take like 10 minutes, but I won. And then I got her sword, and it's like True Flame, but with lightning and doesn't double as a torch. Still good though, and it swings a lot faster. True Flame kind of swings slow, but it's still good. I tell people Alexia and Sulthus Sil are dead, but no one believes me, and I guess they'll find out in the future. With that, our time in Mournhold is done, but there is a couple more things to do. First off, this is the final version of me. Pretty snazzy, huh? Second off, I made my own set of guards with my followers, so I bring them with me for this next part. See, with Sulthus Sil and Alexia dead, I figure I should just fully end the tribunal and take care of the last god, Vivek. So I bring my guards and order his death. The last thing I do is I go fight the East Empire final boss again. And yeah, this motherfucker is still hard, even with my crazy build. But yeah, still beatable. Morrowind was a very good game. Once you beat it, you could still have a lot to play through. There was still stuff I didn't even cover. There's also side stuff I didn't cover. There's so much in this game. You could play it for quite a while. On top of that, there are cheats you can use. There's a very interesting one that takes you to Todd Test, which is Todd Howard's test room. And in there's a whole bunch of cool equipment. And there's a naked Khajiit woman named Pretty Kitty. Don't know why Todd has that in there. But yeah, using cheats is another way you could add replayability to it. But even better than that, you could mod the fuck out of the game, and I do recommend doing that. I think you should probably play it without mods first, but there's so much you can do to really just play the fuck out of this game over and over again. Replayability wise, it's fantastic. Morrowind is just fantastic overall. I really like it. It's definitely one of my favorite games ever. It's definitely not for everyone. It's got some real low lows, but it's also got real high highs. And overall, I just enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. I'll probably do a video like this for Oblivion and Skyrim as well.